Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Review Cast, where we're reviewing Creature Commandos, the episode 5, 6, and 7. We talked about 1 through 4 previously, and now the show has ended. We're going to talk to you about our thoughts on the series as a whole, any episodes that kind of stood out for us, what we want to see in season 2, and of course, that Batman cameo. I am your host, Dana, and I am joined by Mr. Danny Martinez. How are you doing?
How you doing?
All right.
That's it.
Uh, that's it. That's wonderful. So kind of going off from the very kind of our feelings for the entire series as a total, as a whole, what were your thoughts on this?
I'm mad of how short the series is. I
Mhm.
get that, they don't want to take a risk and spend too much money and have the series go 10, 15, 20 episodes. Nowadays, we don't get more than 10 episodes on most things anymore. But I'm just mad that it's short because it's that good. It's really a lot of fun and it's good story and it's good character development and I'm excited what they're gonna do next. So yeah, I'm loving it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you completely. I wanted it to be a little bit longer, even though I struggled with it sometimes. I didn't like it as much as you did, and that really has nothing to do with the writing or the style. It just really didn't speak to me that much. It was like, oh, okay, this is something that I could have watched. It felt like an Adult Swim show. You tune
Yeah.
into it when it's on, and you tune out, and you come back to it later. But it wasn't something that was like grave importance. Like I have to watch. I have to know each episode, what's going on. And I felt that it did a really great job of kind of showing us the backstory of the characters while also keeping the main storyline focused. But at the same time, once it kicked off at the very end of episode 7, where we got everyone's backstory, I wanted more of the actual main story. And I felt that, I understand that it had to end at the same time, but did it really have to end at the same time? We could have got 10 episodes. He is the president now of DC Studios, I believe. So he
Um,
could have made those three
isn't
episodes.
yeah, yeah.
Because
Okay.
David Zaslav is the head of Warner Brothers Discovery. And
Uh-huh.
within Warner Brothers Discovery, there is DC Studios, which Peter Safran and James Gunn are the heads of.
Hmm.
So I just felt like you could have made this just 10 episodes, and
I
it'll be
I
fine. We don't need 7.
I think they were playing it cautious because this was a new, these are all new characters that nobody knows about. So kind of like, with Guardians of the Galaxy, like you got to be really cautious about how you work these characters. So I think doing 7 episodes, they were like, I think that's a good number. We'll do one episode each of doing a character development about, their backstory and stuff, and then maybe hopefully in the next season, which we've already confirmed they're working on a new season.
Mhm.
The new season they'll be more focused on the main story because we already know these people's backstory. But I should mention the way things ended. It seems like they're going to be introducing more creatures, so that kind of has me worried that they're gonna just do more flashbacks and more background story of more creatures and
Ugh.
stuff, and not continue the main story as they should.
I didn't really think of it that way. Oh my gosh. Yeah, because we kind of got rid of Nina, which I thought was just sad and tragic, but I got it. But they did a really great job of kind of going. We got Doctor Phosphorus, his story. Like I said, we got Nina's, and we got oh gosh, who's the other one? I think those were all the other. That was it. It was more of the continuation of Bride and Doctor Frankenstein's
Yeah,
monster.
yeah.
Um, so that was, and then we also, of course, got who is the real baddie of the group, which was, I think, just so obvious from the beginning. You even stated who it was. I think you stated the whole thing, aside from Clayface. When there was no Clayface, kind of mentioned at that point.
Mhm.
So yeah. Overall, you said that it was really good. Was there any kind of episodes that really stood out for you?
Nina's episode, the fish girl. I think
Hmm.
she, aside from when we were reviewing the first 4 episodes, I had mentioned that one of the saddest episodes for me was measles because it was very heartfelt and I felt bad for he's an innocent creature. But then Nina's episode showed up, and I felt just as bad. Like she had to go through all these medical things, and she was a normal human being, and her dad had to experiment on her because he wanted to help, but he kind of just made things worse. It sucks. It was a sucky, depressing story, and just for the way it ended on top of that, I kind of feel bad for her also. But that was probably
Yeah, no, it was. I kind of agree with you, Dr. Phosphorus. I really liked it, but it was more like a fun episode. I was like, oh, he's just. I don't want to say he was terrible, but he was trying to con the con man, but at the same
Mhm.
time protect secrets. So it's like that really gray area of, is he a bad guy or is he really just a good guy who was scared? I really wish that they would have gone more into. Well, they explained that he used the mob in order to fund the research for the cures for cancer. But he was giving them bad info because the mob guy was then going and trying to sell the data to other foreign leaders, essentially. So they can. It was kind of, I was slightly confused whether or not it was like insider trading in terms of like stock market, but they really didn't mention that because there wasn't really any drug that was released, but it was more like research purposes. But the point is, he conned them. The numbers that he gave them was wrong, and that's how they ended up throwing him into his own nuclear um, rig thing tank. And then instead of dying, he just became Dr. Phosphorus, which also was like every time he touched someone, he could kill them instantly. But at the same time, there was a scene where he was playing with a baby, and the baby was fine,
Well,
unless the baby ended up
if
with
you,
cancer.
I thought about that too, but they do kind of show it a little bit that it seems like when
Hmm.
he came out of the chamber and became who he was, became who he is now. Um, he couldn't control his powers. He didn't know what he was doing. He was kind of just messing things up. But it seemed like as the flashbacks were progressing, he started to know how to use his powers. So it seems like he can touch whatever he wants, but he can burn them at will. Like he can melt them at will. So it makes
Right,
sense that he was playing with that girl afterwards because he knows how to contain it.
right. That is true. Because I was like, is she gonna get cancer? So, because
Yeah.
all of those rays, I'm just confused. But no, for me that was really good, and of course it showed him climbing up the criminal ladder to the point where Batman was like, "Hey, dude,
Stepping.
what are you doing?" And that, James Gunn did an interview. That is the official Batman for the DC universe. Whether or not that's going to end up being James Patterson, yeah,
Now, I should
not James.
say
I said
though,
Robin.
because there's a caveat with that, because James Gunn did say yes, that's our Batman, but they had purposely darkened his silhouette as
Hmm.
much as possible because they weren't sure what his design's going to be yet. So that could still change. Because that Batman, the internet was going crazy when that Batman showed up. Because all you see is a silhouette, but the silhouette is a hulking guy. He's a big guy, and it's a reminder more of the Batman, the older Batman, like kind of like Ben Affleck's Batman. Um,
Hmm.
so in my head, instantly, I was like, oh, they're gonna go the big man route. Oh, I know the perfect person. Like it's Alan Richardson or Richardson, like that. He has the perfect physique.
Mm.
He's got the acting chops. I think he would be the perfect Batman. So I'm hoping like if they keep that big frame type of Batman that they go like with him. If they go the smaller route, I was still thinking Jensen Ackles. I think Jensen Ackles would be really cool from if everybody knows him from like Supernatural. I'm a big Supernatural
That's crazy. Now I want to see Alan Richardson and the boys, just so he can be with Jensen Ackles.
fan.
But yeah, I never. Yeah, but at least we got Batman. And
Yeah.
James Gunn said he's always been there, kind of just looming around, and he's been there for years. Everyone knows that he exists. It's just like he's pissed off about phosphorus, and he was like, "Hey, dude," and he ended up getting arrested and thrown into jail because Batman kind of came and was like, "You got to stop this." Um, but it was a nice way to kind of extend that. So we got a Superman already, in which we already know. We saw the Superman, we saw the Justice League, and we now have a Batman. So that is something that is going to be planned. We just look forward to what's going on in the future with that. So little sprinkle bits that he's giving us. But I did really like that episode because it was kind of like a fun episode. Um, but then when you look at the one with Nina, that was such a sad episode. And I was arguing back and forth whether or not the mother was a terrible person. And I kind of understood what she was saying. I understood both ways. And I felt like the dad was just a really bad doctor because there are babies that are born with their organs outside of their bodies all the time. And they didn't have to go through in some kind of tank. And they weren't turned into a fish. But yeah, and I love the fact that Nina Love never hated her father for what
Yeah.
he did to her. It wasn't like, you should have let me die, Dad. It was like, no,
Yeah.
you were the best father I ever had. And then the father being killed right in front of her. That's just sad. It would have been interesting if we had like a little scene of her seeing her father in the light as she died. And she's like, Dad. And then she just died. But it was really interesting also to see Bride get, they became close. And I thought we were going to see a little something in season 2, but we didn't.
Yeah.
She just died, and Bride took it out on everybody, which was duly needed. So yeah, those episodes was good. And what did you think about the kind of the open secret plot twist that everyone kind of saw coming, minus Clayface? Because I wasn't surprised at all.
I mean, I wasn't surprised at all. As soon as they made it to the teacher's house and everything, I was like, oh, I know what's going on. I kind of already predicted it all. I do kind of like the end, kind of like the twist was that they made it seem like the princess was still good and Cersei was just lying or mistaken, and then kind of the bride figured it out. She was just like, oh, you use Clayface to do this, and then you kind of pulled a reverse psychology type thing. So you did that to make people think that she was wrong, and all that. It was just craziness. So like she was just like, yeah, I'm gonna kill you, but not because of all that, but I'm gonna kill you because you killed Dina, and she was like my only friend and stuff. And yeah, and she
Right.
kills her at the end. One thing I gotta mention with the bride and stuff, her story is weird because you still watch Eric is his name, the Frankenstein monster. You still watch him traveling around, trying to get to the bride. Now he knows where she is. And all of this going on, all this chase going on, and he finally shows up and sees her, and she just shoots him up, falls out a window, and then she just makes sure that he's dead, and then she just moves on. Like there's nothing else that happens. Like the entire time there's this development of just like, oh my god, it's Eric and the bride are about to reunite again. How is she gonna react? She freaking shoots him and then just walks away. And that was the end of it. That was like very weird to me.
But she always hated him, from the very beginning. And he was always going after her, and it was crazy. And also, there was no reason for him to kill that lovely old lady who makes terrible soup.
Oh yeah.
I was just, that was, and at least he didn't kill the dog. But there was no reason for him to kill her. And I thought it was kind of interesting because she kind of said how lonely she was. And I thought that they would have bonded because they're both kind of lonely. And maybe after being dejected and rejected by Bride, he would kind of like come home to her. But Dad was that's not in his programming, and Bride was just so disgusted at that point. I don't blame her for killing him, and to me, in a way that kind of made it unpredictable, instead of like this, like, oh, it's you, that kind of embrace that he thought he was going to get. It was the point of cross where she stated she couldn't stand him. You showed the trauma that he put her through. He's been chasing her for centuries. So it wasn't like, hey, I met you last week or anything. This was centuries of hatred and her trying to run away and escape this guy. And he finally came back to her or found her. And the only way to logically deal with it is to make sure that he was dead and then to kill him.
But he's not
so
dead
it made
though.
sense in
That's
that
the
way.
thing. He's still not dead.
Yeah.
So we'll see this happen. It was funny to watch, for this season, but I hope they don't continue this because that running gag is going to get old real fast. Like eventually, I want to see some development where like he considers moving on, thinking about moving on, or find somebody else maybe or something like that. But Like if they continue on the same gag again next season, it's not going to be as funny.
So I completely agree with you. I do not want this to get stale because it has that way to get stale in the running, as you stated, the running gag. Um, I really don't want to see him in a season two. There's really nothing that can happen unless he. I don't know if he's programmed to understand that she wants nothing to do with him. That's the other thing. Kind of like Mr. What was it, Robot, where he was like, kill Nazis.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
that's all he knew with
yeah.
his programming. So I kind of wonder about that as well. But kind of going back to the ending, which we saw, Amanda is just. I like the fact that she just keeps growing up. She's terrible at her job, by the way. Just absolutely terrible. So I kind of like that aspect of it. With season two, one, do you even want to? Well, you kind of stated that you wanted a season two, but was there anything kind of in the changes of the dynamics aside from them bringing in more people, which is something that I really don't want because the group is split.
No, they're all back together. I don't know about Flag,
Okay.
but all their creatures are back together in their little holding prison thing that they live in. But I think it's a smart idea that Bride kind of took over as the leader because she's definitely the more
Mm-hmm.
aggressive leader type, I guess. So I think in the character development wise, she's found her calling, I guess you can say, or maybe she hasn't realized that maybe this is her calling. Um, so I think it's a smart idea that she's going to lead more teams, and this will introduce more characters. And I'm assuming that they're trying to introduce more characters to kind of see what sticks. You know,
Mm-hmm.
who are we going to gravitate towards more of? Because we already love Weasel. Dr. Phosphorus, he's okay. They had
I
the
like Dr.
he's funny. He's definitely funny. I like as a character, I don't see too much like importance
Oh,
for him, but he definitely lightens up the mood and things. Um, the robot, he came back. We thought he was dead, and he came back. I mean, I saw that coming too because he's a freaking robot. So he came back, and he came back like massive. So now he's like a big hulkling looking robot who still wants to kill Nazis. Um, so like that's what I expect from season two is just more characters, more character development and flashbacks and stuff. But I worry that in season two they're kind of just going to rinse and repeat what they did in season one. And
right.
I don't want that. I expect that with some of the new characters they introduce, sure, but I don't want that to be like the formula every single time.
Right. No, I completely agree with you. And I also was happy about one thing I wanted to say. Weasel got his happy ending. He's a statue that was dedicated in his honor.
Save the
So
princess.
he's yeah. So he's being loved and appreciated. So there you go. That's his happiness right there. So that was a good thing to see. But I kind of completely agree with you. Just as long as they are not repetitive. And from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think James Gunn has done serial television before.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. So it's not like I can compare this to other shows and to be like, oh, well, you see, this is just like this, and this character came back again multiple times. So no, I don't think that he's done that. So this will be an interesting kind of test to see how James Gunn can deal with serialized television in multiple seasons. So I do look forward to that and to see what else ends up happening. So kind of overall, is there a grade that you would give this series?
Um, ooh, that's a good question. I'd probably give this a B plus. Um, I really like the DC, and this is before James Gunn. I really like the DC movies, the animated movies. I think those are the
Mm-hmm.
best quality DC material that you could possibly get from them. Um, so for them to continue more animated stuff is a lot of fun. So I think this is almost on par with those movies and TV shows. I think it still has a little bit of work, and of course, I also give it that grade because it's short. It's freaking 7 episodes. Like I don't think that's enough.
Right.
So I think a B plus, and that way there's room for improvement as well. So I think that's fair.
I kind of have to agree with you in terms of a B plus. Maybe for me, maybe more of a B minus because just overall, I wasn't as enthused as you, and it
Mm,
took too long for me to become enthused. And then when I did, it's like, oh, and it's over. Like, oh, okay. I did enjoy some of the backstories. I like what they did. I like some of the voice acting work. Alan Tudyk, he's just one of
great.
those people who he's just superb. He can, who knows what's gonna happen. And my thing with Batman, yeah, we got him in that. What if we have another animated Batman series? I know that we were supposed to get several before they were cut, and I know that Dave Zaslav does not like animated television,
But do you
but
mean specifically focused on James Gunn's universe?
yeah, until we get a Batman actor,
Yeah,
it
because we
might I
already
might,
have
might
a
be too
Batman
early.
animated series, but it's just not in the
Right,
universe.
right, and it's on a completely different network. It's on
Yeah,
Prime Video.
yeah.
So maybe we had something that's on Max and
Um,
in the universe would be interesting. We had
I,
Kid Batman, which but that wasn't even on the
I
universe. Yeah.
I don't as big of a name as Batman and Superman and like Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, all of those guys. I don't think starting as an animated series would be beneficial. I think mostly because so imagine like if we see an animated Batman and we get a really cool design and everything like that, how well would that translate to real life? That would be difficult. So you would have to already establish the look of Bruce Wayne, the look of Batman in live action, so that way you can translate it first to animated. So that way, when we do eventually see a live action Batman, we're not um, like bothered by the change in format. Because I'm picturing like if I saw Batman the animated series, the old '90s cartoon, right? If I'm watching that first, and then I see that same exact style in live action, I'd probably be a little. It'll probably be a little jarring. It'll probably be a little weird because of like the way he's drawn, the way he looks, and what I'm already used to seeing in animated style. So I would think first that like live action would probably benefit first, so we can already like get used to it, and then if you do an animated, you can kind of play around with the design a little bit to make it look like live action, but it's not. Obviously, it's not. So yeah, I don't think they should start off animated first.
So just randomly, question: if we got a Batman Beyond live action,
Oh, I would love
would
that.
you be like, oh,
I would love that.
see?
That show was so good. Yeah, but all right, so that's fair. That's a fair point. My 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 response to that would be it's been a long time. It's been what 20 years since the animated
Over.
series. So you can completely redesign Batman, Batman Beyond anyways, and then still do an animated afterwards. So like seeing a live action Batman Beyond, you can still do a new design because to be fair also if you look back at the old Batman Beyond design, he's very plain. He's very
Hmm.
angular, he's very plain, he's just got like the belt and the logo, and then everything else is just black. He's got some blades on the arm, but like everything is just like solid black. So it's very simple. You can't do that in live action at all, no way, unless the whole thing is CGI. So you have to have like lines on the gloves and designs on the suit, and especially because the suit is very technological. So like you can't
Hmm.
do those sharp edges and angles like you did in the cartoon. So like live action, you have to change the design.
Okay, that's fair.
But
But
by the way,
what
James
was the
Gunn,
word?
James
Yeah,
Gunn, James Gunn does have his hand in TV series. Uh, 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 Jesus Christ, Peacemaker. He wrote
that's right. That is right. How could I forget that?
it.
That's so. That's such a big like. forgetful moment for me. And we're getting a season 2. I think it's been so darn long from season
Yeah,
1.
yeah.
Back in my day, when we had seasons, we only had to wait like a couple months. Well, the
Mhm.
show would wrap it, say around what was it, like
Back in the day,
August?
it started in the fall, usually about September, October, and it'll last the
Mhm.
entire year up until about June, and it will have a
Mhm.
summer break. We'll have a summer break, and then
Mhm.
we'll start off all over again. That's how it used to be in the 90s.
Even in like a couple years ago, dude, like maybe 6 years ago,
But
also
now,
before all
but
the
now we
streaming mess.
now we gotta wait freaking a year, 2 years, 3 years. Freaking
Five.
Stranger. I'm gonna go on a rant. Stranger Things. Like we're still waiting for the final season, and it's been what, 5 years, 6 years? Like it's
Those
freaking
are
crazy.
grown men and women by now. Isn't Millie
We're
Bobby
probably just
Brown
gonna get 10
30?
episodes
At most 10. Might
at
really end up
most.
with 8.
Back then, also in the
Oh,
90s, we used to get 20 plus episodes.
22,
and
24,
and then I
26.
and then I understand because people don't know this. In the 90s, there was a huge writer's strike, and that was one of the issues, was that the writers were burnt out because they would only get that summer break, but you had to use that summer break to make a whole season for the entire year, and they had to write 20 something episodes for that entire year. So they were burnt out and they were underpaid. So after the strike ended, that's when they started to phase those seasons into like just 10 episodes, 15 episodes, 12 episodes, whatever, because it was too much.
I'm good with 18 episodes. We can find common ground at 18.
It's fair. I say 15.
Um,
That's fair.
my heart is hurting now. Come on, and it's just don't have me wait 10 years between each season. Doesn't even make any sense anymore. This is what the audience retention. This is why nobody can pay attention to things anymore.
I
It's
don't
just
remember a thing that
terrible.
happened in the last season of Stranger Things, and I'm not gonna rewatch the season. I'm not.
Isn't Pam or somebody still missing? Who knows? I
I
don't
just
know. I've never
remember,
seen
I
it.
don't even remember the kid's name, but I just remember that kid with the long hair. He ended up dying because he got attacked by the bats, and he was probably one of the most beloved characters. I can't remember
Ugh,
his name anymore.
I don't know none of these people's names. But rest in peace to the Bat Boy. So that's just sad. So was there anything else that you wanted to say about Creature Commandos?
No, that's pretty much everything I have to say about it. It's a good show. I hope they don't do the rinse and repeat treatment with it. It's enjoyable. I would at least hope that they flesh out more with Weasel, because I'd like to know his origins. Because apparently he used to be human. That's what they're saying. So I'd like to know what
Hmm.
happened to him. Aside from that, I just want them to continue more of just the main story.
And I kind of wonder if we're going to get the events of this in Peacemaker season 2. Just, in terms of Waller being a complete screwed up, just keep screwing up. And, the injury of Rick Flag Sr. Yeah, I think that's his name. Whether or not, we'll see anything with that.
Mhm.
So who knows? But I guess that's everything that we had to say. It was a decent show. We look forward to season 2. Kind of, we loved Nina. Well, I love Dr. Phosphorus. Rest in peace to Nina. Maybe they can bring her back to just be talking sushi.
It's
Who
comic
knows?
books.
Comic books. So there you go. Because I think Bride. Remember they did a whole thing about not being touched, and Bride was saying she wasn't touched. Bring back Nina so she can touch her. You know.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But until next time, I've been your host, Dana, joined by Mr. Danny Martinez. Have a great evening, afternoon, morning, whenever you're watching this, and we'll see you later. Thank you.
Haters.